Idea is to go in the church and get some volunteers. The volunteers pay their own way, so there's no expense, travel expense or anything to anybody. And they go overseas and build a church building. It takes us about, well, we're gone 2 weeks, but it only takes about 11 days to build the building. Now, since the COVID hit, we haven't been able to go. And everybody's sad and sorry, but my first trip to the Philippines was in 1978, and so for 42 years we've been able to train Filipino preachers to build church buildings, and I have 3 building teams over there. So I did that in case I died, that the work could go on. But in this case, COVID came along, and we couldn't go, so this was their test to see if they could build a building, and they did a fine job. You're going to see that here. Now, we also have a second thing. First of all, I want you to look for a job that you could do, because we make pews, pulpits, communion tables, paint. There are just 100 different jobs in here that a person could do, no matter whether you're young or old, or healthy or unhealthy. There's something you could do. And for those that don't feel comfortable in traveling or think they can't or whatever, why, we encourage them to give so that we can buy materials for these church buildings. And that's what happened this time. We furnished all the money for the materials that you're going to see here, even though we didn't go. Now, a church building and a parsonage, in this case, we built both. How much do you think that cost to build a new church building and seat 300 people in a parsonage? Anybody have a guess? Well, it comes to $10,000. That's pretty cheap, isn't it?
Man.
So we think we have the best bargain in missions that you can possibly get. And over the years, we have become the only mission that I'm aware of that has no expenses. We have no headquarters, no retirement, no salaries, no rent, no insurance, nothing. We don't, whatever money comes in goes for buying materials for these church buildings. So no expenses. The people that go pay their own way. 0 expenses. So whatever you give to provide a church building, 100% of it goes for that purpose, with nothing taken out. I'm going to run through these quickly, but this is how we start. These are 5 preachers, and the boy on the right there, I say boy, he's a grandfather. But I put him through Bible college when he was just a young man. So I've known him for about as long as we've been going over there, 42 years. Known him a long time, him and his wife Edith. And, okay, are you going to turn these? Oh, okay. Anyway, this must be the next one.
You're in our way. Back here.
She said you're in her way.
Oh, I'm in front of it. Okay, let me step back then. We started out with just bare ground. There was nothing done before we go, so a lot of times we have to dig the footer, just like you see, and sometimes we have to haul in some fill. Whatever it takes to get the building done, we start with nothing and go from there, and everything is done by hand. We don't have any machines or anything to work with overseas, so it's all done with a shovel and a back. And you can see the rebar we've made up here. We build these buildings just like we do in America. We build them strong. They're typhoon proof and everything. We've never lost a building to a storm overseas.
Wow.
Some towns, they've had typhoons come through, and ours would be the only building left standing in town.
Wow.
But we do build them strong, just like we would here. Some of these are a little bit out of order. I noticed 1 or 2 were backwards there. We built the building. But anyway, here they have poured the floor. All that concrete mixed by hand, all finished by hand. That's the stage they're standing on up there. And this is where we generally start our evening services. Our motto is we work all day and build all night. Or build all day and work all, or preach all night. I'll get it right in a minute. And so a lot of times at night, after we have the floor in, we'll invite people to come for a service. We'll work all day, and then that night we'll go and have a service right on the open slab to start out with. And they'll be meeting as the building is going up. And you'll see the results of all that. This one's a little out of order. We're back to having it poured. catch up here. Now, I wish I had a picture of the actual welding machine for any of you that are welders. Everything is either concrete block or metal. There's nothing to wear out, or no termites can eat it or anything. And these welding machines overseas, I wish we could get them in America, but we can't. We're that far behind. They're just about that long, and about that wide, and about that tall, and they weld this 1/4-inch steel, just like a great big machine here in America would weld it. They're called an inverter. And the ones we buy over there, I own about 8 of those welding machines. The ones we buy are made in Korea, and I asked the manufacturer, I said, why can't we get these in America? And he said, UL, Underwriters Laboratory. He said it would cost me $1 million to get these certified. And think how many machines I'd have to sell for $300 a piece to make $1 million to pay Underwriters Laboratory. He said, you guys will never get them as long as you're charging that kind of money. So you'll find out when you go overseas that there's a lot of things that we don't have. And you discover them trip by trip. That's one of them. Another thing that a person could do, all this metal has to be painted with an oxide paint to keep it from rusting, and so the women a lot of times will paint all the metal, the red, the silver, and everything with an oxide paint so that it's permanent. There's something for everybody to do. Here's the complete roof system. These roofs are guaranteed 25 years, and like I say, the metal purlins go on top of the trusses, and then the roof attaches to the purlins. So everything is built to last. These, what makes them typhoon proof, these poles that go down in the ground are concreted. And when a typhoon comes, the wind lifts the building, but it can't lift it when it's concreted into the ground. These are welded to the trusses, welded to the top plate, so everything goes clear to the ground. It's a pretty neat system. We have a lot of engineers that go with us on these trips. Over the years, they have developed this system, and one of them, for example, worked out at Wichita Beach Aircraft. He's the one that designed the Starship that had the propellers behind the wings instead of in front of them. I mean, we got some pretty smart guys that go. One time we had 7 men with doctor's degrees working on the roof of one of these buildings. And I thought to myself, well, you talk about somebody overclassed or overqualified or something. Yeah. But they love to do it. Now the building's kind of going up. This scaffolding I copied from America, and we built it over there, and it just stays there permanent. But we've got a lot of things that you've got here, not everything. There we go. Yeah, it's coming along a little better. You can see the facers on the front and the plastering going on over the blocks. When you plaster a concrete block, it gives it 30% more strength. And so we plaster everything, smooth it, and you'll see it painted here in a little bit. Now you're seeing the smoothness come out of it, and the space for the windows. And that's Philippine mahogany on the doors. That's the only thing wood, but it's so hard that the termites can't eat it. So we've never lost a door to termites. And they are pretty too, aren't they? And we also build a baptistry with every building. I guess something similar, I haven't seen this one, but something similar to what you've got, except ours isn't heated and doesn't have to be over there. But we also build, I think I got another shot of them, these are pews. I think maybe the next slide shows them a little better. Yeah. We build these pews, that's 1 sheet of plywood per pew. We have a special plan that we've used for years and years, and that's become a standard. And a lot of churches, they like the pews better than they do the chairs. We did like they do here in the States, you know, they buy plastic chairs and take them in and put them up and back and forth on these new church buildings. We thought that would work over there, but the people over there prefer these pews over the chairs.
Some of us do here too. Some of us do here also.
Yeah. Well, that's something you can do if you're a carpenter, too old to lay block or get on the roof with the metal. You can make these pews for us. What happened to that picture? There it is. Also, we make the pulpit and the communion table. We try to have everything just like we do here. And I think they do a real good job of it, as you can see. It's getting nicer all the time, isn't it? Painted and trimmed, and now we got the name on the front. Larry, I can tell, painted that. This is Parka Carulla Maravillas Bataan. And so that's where this church building is. Now, you know right where it is now, don't you? Anybody fight on Bataan in World War II? Okay. Well, anyway, it's a famous place. And I've toured that, and right where MacArthur was, and Malinka Tunnel, and the whole deal. One of the best tours in all the world. That's a bonus if you go on one of these trips. And now the building's filling up. We've got some chairs you see along with the pews, and they're making more pews because they prefer them. But this is the dedication Sunday. Now, this was just taken about 2 weeks ago from today. That's when it was dedicated. So these are all current. And it took them about 6 weeks to build what we build in 2 weeks. Takes them a little longer, but that's all right. I think they did a good job. I've been looking at these pictures, and I believe they did a good job doing it. They gave us a certificate of recognition because we paid for it. or you paid for it if you were one of the ones that donated. And I thought that was nice too. Now the main thing we're coming to right now, I don't know what that is, but there's Larry preaching, and then at the end of the service we come to this is why we build these buildings. On Dedication Sunday 2 weeks ago they had 5 baptisms. And they had 3 more last Sunday. I don't know what they'll have today, but I'll get it in the email. They're very evangelistic over there. And whenever you see the baptistry that you made used, it makes the trip worthwhile.
Amen.
That's for sure. There's the 5 candidates right there that were baptized. You can see men, women, young, old. It's a mixture. And that's always a good sign too. And that may be my last one. I just wanted to give you an overview of what we do, and when we can't go, we give them the money and they do it. And hopefully you can think about that. Maybe this church can be a part of that for your mission work this next year.
Amen.
Amen.